following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
What is up and what's happening, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Uptempo Podcast. Tonight we are here to talk some college baseball. It's Blake and Dustin. We're back, and what a familiar face to have back on the podcast, man. Dalton Garrett, DG, as we all know him. DG is here to talk some college baseball and some regional predictions and even some Florida baseball. So we'll start there. DG, man, how you been doing?
I've been doing good, man. Just hanging out, just getting ready for this baseball tournament to start. You know, with Florida being 2 seed, it's kind of an exciting time for us. Since it's really the only sport we're any good at anymore. I dive deep into baseball, man, just because, like I said, it's fun to watch when your team's really good. So.
Yeah, DG. Look, we'll start there tonight, and you know, I want to ask you this Florida baseball program and everything that Coach Sully has done there, and including this year with all the studs, all the wins, winning the SEC regular season. Man, what has it meant to that campus and that fan base down there?
Man, it's been a breath of fresh air. I mean, I think he's been there for 15 years. Florida's hosted a regional in 12 of those years. And being 15 years ago was 2008. So, I mean, that's the last time we were any good at football, really. So it's kind of been, the dominant sport on campus for the last 15 years. They're good every year. I mean, I think they've made a tournament every year. They've been a national seed 12 to 15. They've hosted 14 to 15 times. Obviously that's not counting 2020 when they were 18-1 when COVID hit, but it's just it's been by far the most dominant sport on campus, and this year's really been the first year where it seems like the fans are finally kind of like fully engaged, diving into the games. I know obviously having the new stadium helps with that, so it's been good, man. It's been great through the year, and it's been really good this year. Kind of seeing how going into the year, Florida was really hyped up. And they've definitely backed up that hype throughout the year.
Well, DG, let's talk about some of these cats that you guys got, man. You got some absolute bangers down there in Gainesville, and one with Langford, and then let's talk about Cags, man, and just some of those dudes that have really taken this program and just putting it to another level.
Yeah, man. I mean, Wyatt Langford, just back-to-back years, he's proven he's one of the top players in the country. I mean, there's still talks that he could go 1-1 for the draft. I know a lot of people are really high on Dylan Cruz and Paul Skeens, but I saw a guy the other day compare Wyatt Langford to Mike Trout, not tool-wise, but just because of his build and power and speed and outfield and just all that kind of stuff. I know every time I watch him play, man, it feels like Kyle Pearson's like, yeah, he's built like a linebacker, but he runs a 6'5", 60. It's like, yeah, I mean, the dude rolls like – and then obviously Caglione, 27 home runs. I think he's like 6-2 on the mound. And what's crazy is like people think of him as just a home run guy, but he's batting like 355. I mean, it's not like he's just banging the ball over the park. He's batting for the longest time. I know him and Ike Irish and Dylan Cruz are all tied for like the league leading hits. So it's like he's not just a home run hitter. He hits for average too. So just those two guys in the lineup. I mean, it's a scary lineup when you got Langford 2-hole and then Cags 3-hole. You got to pick one or the other. And then if you mess around and get those guys on, Josh Rivera has been quite possibly the best shortstop in college baseball this year as well. And he's the 4-hole. So it's like, pick your poison 2, 3, 4. Like you got to figure out how to get one of them out because we saw against Alabama last week, those 3 guys led the inning off. Rypel came up, hit a grand slam, and won a game. So it's like you just never – there's never an easy spot in that lineup, especially through the first 4 or 5 guys.
Yeah, well, DG, this pitching staff, man, the bullpen, can this pitching staff and bullpen, the entire rotation, carry this Florida Gators team to Omaha, Nebraska?
Man, I think the bullpen, like at the beginning of the year, we've talked, me, you, and D-Lane talk a lot about it, but they struggled at the beginning, but it wasn't that there wasn't enough talent there. It was just kind of figuring out who was going to be where. Like Brandon Neely came into the season as the closer from day one. He's really a starter, but we don't need him as a starter, so they bumped him to the back end of the bullpen. He's first team All SEC guy, led the league in saves, and it was just kind of figuring out, okay, hey, who's going to throw 6, 7, 8, or who's going to throw 7, 8, or who's going to come in mid-innings to have a big situation if the starter starts to struggle. And they finally kind of, narrowed down to Ryan Slater and Philip Abner. And then we got a freshman named Cade Fisher who've kind of all taken that next step to be the guys out of the bullpen. Starting pitching's been hit or miss. I saw a stat the other day where like all three of Florida starters' ERA is almost like a 1.5 less at home than it is on the road, which obviously is great to know since we're going to be able to host all the way to Omaha. But Brandon Sproat's when he's on, he's been one of the best pitchers in baseball. But when he's not on, he can't get out of the first inning. I mean, I've seen. First week at SEC, he went complete game, one hitter against Alabama. The next week or 2 weeks later against Auburn, he didn't even get out of the first inning. So it's been hit or miss with him. Hurston Waldrop are two guys kind of in the same way. He's either really, really good or he's just in between. And what's been the crazy part is none of them really get hit that hard. They just walk so many people. We'll get behind the counts, or we'll be in the fifth inning already at 95 pitches. And it's not that they're pitching bad. It's just they're getting so deep in counts and they're striking so many people out that when you go 3-2 on everybody in the lineup, your pitch count gets higher, and that's putting more stress on the bullpen than needed to be. But the last few weeks, man, they've kind of looked a lot better. Sproat's been really decent the last couple times. Waldrop threw really well against I want to say maybe it was Missouri, who we played before Vanderbilt. Then he came in against Vanderbilt, struck out the first three guys of the game, but then we had a rain delay, so they didn't take him back out there. So his pitching rotation kind of got messed up. He threw really well against Kentucky the last week of the season. Threw really well last week against Alabama in the SEC tournament. But I think, man, the biggest guy for us pitching is going to be Cags. If he can come in and give us 5 innings in his starts, that's going to put Florida where they need to be. Because if he can give you 5, which he's done a few times, and especially the last week against Vanderbilt, didn't look great, but he wasn't throwing bad. He just had 3 errors in the first inning that ultimately bit him in the butt. But man, if he's pitching well, like Florida's, he's as good as most people's 1 or 2 guy, and you're running him up against everybody else's 3 on top of their 3 guy having to face our lineup. So if he's throwing well, I think Florida's going to sit really pretty. I'm really curious what they're going to do this week pitching wise. We play FAMU first game. We beat them midweek earlier in the season, like 18-6. So you're not going to waste Sproat. You're not probably going to throw Waldrop. But I don't know if you even throw Cags or if you just throw someone like Tyler Nesbitt, who's been a midweek guy all year, because you can beat FAMU with a midweek guy. We've seen it happen before. And I don't see a FAMU guy coming in and shutting down our lineup. So it's just I'm really curious what we're going to do. They haven't really announced pitching stuff yet. But we know the other two, 3 seeds in our bracket are going to have to throw their aces against each other, which then only sets up for Florida to just be sitting in a great spot come hopefully Saturday, Sunday to move on to Super Regionals.
Yeah, DG, and one thing, I'm kind of looking at the bracket, man, and you guys got swept by South Carolina earlier in the season, and now you guys are the 2 seed, and they are the 15 seed. So there could be a potential rematch, but this time it'll be down in Gainesville for a Super Regional with a chance to go to Omaha, Nebraska. How sweet would that be just to get that revenge?
Yeah, I remember when that series came up in the regular season, everybody was hyped. I think we were maybe 2 or 3 in the country, and they were coming off a couple weeks in a row where they've been playing well. They done that weird 1-1 against LSU because of the rain. So they were super hot, the talk of the country. And yes, they swept us, but if you watch the games, like Florida was in every game. Like game 1, it was 3-3 going into the bottom of the 7th. Bullpen collapsed. Gave up 2 or 3 home runs. Next day, Hurston Waldrop gave up a 3-run bomb to Petrie in the first inning. I think they ended up beating us 5-2. And he was shut down from there on out. But we just got behind. Our bats didn't show up that weekend. We made South Carolina's pitchers look like they should be the best players in the country that week. We put ourselves behind the 8 ball all weekend. Got down early and couldn't ever come back with the way our hitting was. We saw how well South Carolina played at home until the last few weeks of the season. So I think if they were to win their regional, I think getting them in Gainesville would be huge for Florida. I think South Carolina's definitely kind of hit a cold spell, whereas I think Florida's gotten hot and kind of stayed hot for the last few weeks, even though we didn't obviously win the SEC championship last week or tournament. I mean, they played well in the 3 games we did play hitting wise. It's just going to be what can the bottom of the lineup do. Like we know what 1 through 5 is going to give you. What can 6, 7, 8, 9 produce? They've been hit or miss recently. Sully's been changing the lineup. Third base has been getting swapped around. Right field's been getting swapped around. Just a couple spots in the lineup that aren't as for sure as they were earlier in the year. Kind of been, here and there. Who's going to play defense? Are we going to go for a defensive guy? Are we going to go for somebody who's going to score some runs? Like whatever it is. So. I mean, I would love to play South Carolina, but I don't honestly think they're going to win their regional. But we'll get into that in a little while. So.
Yeah, man. And look, before we get to predicting these regionals and everything, I'm going to kick it over here. Dustin, I know you've got something, right?
Yeah, well, he kind of answered it there at the end, but you seem pretty confident coming in the regional. So just if y'all weren't going to make it out of this regional, what would have to happen? Like, what would be the thing that kept y'all from advancing?
Oh, man, I think just bad starting pitching. I think I mean, we've seen it before. We've seen it all year, honestly. I don't know what the exact number is, but I think Florida's won. Like, they've came from behind and won maybe like 15, 16 times this year, and that's counting weekend games and midweeks. So, like, the offense is good enough you can get down and come back. It's just
right.
You don't want to get down and have to come back because, I mean, then you put a lot of pressure on certain guys. So, man, I think if the starting pitching can give us 5 innings and Florida jump up on people quickly, I don't see the 3 teams we have in our regional being able to keep up.
Oh, and I know you real quick before we start getting these predictions. Hey, man, y'all are killing it on that recruiting trail in football. I'm watching Napier, so that thing it ain't gonna stay down for too long. There's a lot of there about Billy Napier and how that's gonna go. I think he took over a mess. I think he's a good coach, and I think that he's starting to really get some momentum on that recruiting trail. That's going to be a fun thing to watch. Florida's the team outside of Auburn, of course, that I'm the most interested in this year going into football season. I really want to see what happens because it's going to go 1 or 2 ways, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think Florida fans are going to have to go into – I think we got to go into the season not really setting high expectations. I mean, I've seen a lot of people saying 4-8, but I've also seen people say, like, man, like, if the ball bounces the right way, you can go 9-3.
Yeah,
I think. I mean, kind of like last year. I think really playing Utah week 1 is really going to set the tone. Our defense, from what everything I've heard, is supposed to be better, which I mean, it couldn't get much worse than it was last year. Our run game, in my opinion, is probably the best in the SEC as far as your 1-2 punch. I don't know if Montreal Johnson or Etienne are the best running backs individually, but I think together they make up, if not the best backfield, one of the best backfields in SEC. So I think we're going to play keep away. I mean, and with the new rule changes with how the clock's not going to stop at the first downs, that's going to benefit Florida. I mean, we're going to be able to hopefully run the ball well. We got a decent offensive line coming back, and just lean on our run game, lean on the defense. Hope the guy Graham Mertz is decent enough. And like you said with recruiting, man. Like recruiting this weekend, this is our first week's official visits this week for us, and. So we got, I mean, obviously DJ Lagway being already committed is huge, and a lot of people on Twitter call him PJ DJ because it seems like every week he's on his private jet flying back to Gainesville to help recruit some people. And this week, I know there's a lot of big time guys on campus, including a few of our commits already. So just keeping the momentum going, man. I know, Florida and Auburn aren't really as big a rivals as they used to be for football, so like we don't see each other on Twitter as much. But I know like for Florida and Florida State and Florida and Miami, like they're always chirping each other. And obviously, with me being living in Alabama, I don't know a lot of Florida State or Miami fans, so like I don't understand that part of the rivalry as much as a lot of Florida fans. But just seeing them like how Florida State went 10-2 last year, 11-2, and their recruiting class is nowhere near as good as ours is when we went 6-7. So I think, like you said, man, like I think. Billy Napier knows how to recruit. It's just going to be. I hope Florida fans and like boosters are able to hey, look, be patient. It's it's not going to be a 1-year fix. He told Florida fans that day 1 in his interview or in his press conference. Hey, be patient. This is not a 6-month turnaround. This is going to take some time. Give me time to get my program right. And I know Florida fans hate to say it, but he's building it like Alabama. He's building it like Kirby Smart did at Georgia. And I don't know why you wouldn't be patient with that. We see his work for both of those guys. Why not wait it out and see if it's going to work out the way it's supposed to work out here? So, shoot, man, like you said with Billy Napier recruit, I'll be honest with you. When y'all hired Hugh Freeze, I wasn't I'm not going to say I wasn't a big fan of it. I mean, it didn't matter to me one way or the other, but I didn't think he'd come in and be able to recruit as well as he has, as quickly as he has. I mean, he's building – I mean, the fact that you got the guy from Michigan State, Peyton Thorne, and you're pulling wide receivers out of the portal left and right. I mean, y'all are the talk of recruiting as well, man. So I saw a thing the other day. It was like the top 10 teams. I want to say like blue chip ratio for kids already committed. We have 89% commit rate. Like I think we're the third, and I want to say y'all are maybe fifth with like 85%. So it's like, man, like people fans just gotta be patient. I mean, like y'all, we've both been kind of going through the same thing. Yeah, y'all had Gus for a while, but it was like it was never. It was, you know, 1 year we're great, 1 year we're bad. 1 year we're great, 1 year we're bad. And then obviously Harsin was a shit show. And then we've kind of been the same way. Like we've had Will Muschamp, great recruiter, but we couldn't score. And then we had McElwain. He couldn't recruit great, but he could score. And then Dan Mullen just fed off of what McElwain brought in the campus, but he couldn't recruit and didn't want to recruit. And so
he made that clear.
Yeah, so it's been weird, man, and it sucks because, like, you know, my least favorite team is Alabama, just like I know you guys is as well. And then also our biggest rival being Georgia. It's like it's tough to watch those two teams just dominate for the last 4 or 5 years, recruiting and on the field. But I'm hopeful that Florida can get back to that sooner rather than later for sure.
Yeah, DG, I think it's coming, man. And like you said, you got to be patient, right? And then you got to give coaches time. And I think, you know, some people look at what Josh Heupel did at Tennessee and they say, well, with the transfer portal, there is no more time to be given. But I think some fan bases need to relax and give coaches, you know, more than 2 years.
Look at Mike Norvell.
Yeah, Florida State, they hung with it, and they're talking about Florida State walking through the ACC and possibly winning the national championship this year.
They might. I mean, not the national championship, but they're in prime position to run through the ACC.
Yeah, I was listening to Jake Crane on Crane and Company, and he's very high on Florida State. I'm not, but I know Josh over at Rising to the Occasion, Josh Mahler, we were doing over-unders the other day, and he's high on Florida State as well like that. Yeah, but I am. I know they're going to be pretty dang good, but that's perfect.
They're going to lose week 1. So
yeah, I think so too. But it's a perfect example. It's a perfect example of buying your time and waiting things out, right? Yeah. But let's hop over here and get into this regional breakdown of the NCAA baseball tournament. This is a sport that doesn't get the love that it deserves, right, fellas? It's a sport that is just one of the greatest postseasons that you will ever witness. It is from regionals to super regionals to dogpiling because you get to go to Omaha, Nebraska and play at Charles Schwab. You know, I'm not a big fan of the new stadium. I always grew up loving Rosenblatt, but it's still Omaha, Nebraska, right? And DG, I know you guys are one of the premier SEC baseball programs in this conference. And little old Auburn has been making their way up the ladder and climbing, and we've had some recent success, right? And we're gonna start in Auburn, Alabama, right here tonight. Number 2 seed Southern Miss, who is 41-17, will take on in game 1 the 3 seed, the Sanford Bulldogs, 36-23. That is at 2 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Plus. And then you have the number 1 seed Auburn in that regional, 34-21-1 against the number 4 seed Penn, 32-14 at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Plus. Dustin, first, I'll start with you, man. Who do you like out of this regional and why?
Yeah, we'll kind of let DG take most of this because if you haven't seen our episode already, go check that out. Yeah. We broke this down in depth. But, yeah, I'm rolling with the Tigers here. Southern Miss is going to be a problem. They've got the pitching. The thing that I worry about, shout out to our boy Lindsey Crosby, that I heard him talking about the other day was this is their final run for their manager. This is it. 14, 15 years, something like that at Southern Miss. So those guys are motivated. That scares me. So just the key is, like I said the other night, good starts. Good starts from Chase. You got to get good Tommy Vale. You can't afford to not have good Tommy Vale. And then hopefully Herbert Holtz can come back and at least give you a couple good innings. He's going to be kind of rusty, obviously, but get something out of Herbert Holtz, even if it's out the pen, whatever. But to me, it's all about our pitching, throwing it across the plate.
Great stuff, Dustin. DG, me, I'm as Auburn homer as it gets. I do think it is going to be Auburn and Southern Miss in the final of this regional. But if Christian Herbert Holtz is healthy, I do like Auburn to advance in this regional, but it all depends on that, in my opinion. If Christian Herbert Holtz cannot go in this regional, I think Auburn is in trouble. But I do like Auburn to advance. And DG, who do you like?
Oh, man, I've honestly, earlier when I texted you, I've changed my pick in this regional a couple times. But it's because I don't know who's throwing in game one for Southern Miss. Do they just get right there number 2 guy and hope they can beat Stanford with that guy? Or do you go with Tanner Hall to get the for sure win? I think if Tanner Hall goes game one, I don't know that their number 2 guys or 2-3 guys are good enough to carry them through the weekend, especially if y'all do get good starts out of your guys. Y'all's lineup is just about as deep as any of the ones in the SEC that we've talked about. I don't think y'all's lineup gets enough credit. We talked about it a couple weeks ago, and the all SEC teams came out. And the fact that Bryson Ware was not even first team, the fact Bobby Pierce didn't get first or second team. First team, I understand. Because the outfield in the SEC this year is loaded, but second team was kind of wild. So your lineup is really good, top to bottom. I've seen it in person. They hit the ball really well against Florida early in the season, and they've only gotten better. It really depends on what Southern Miss does. I think if they save Tanner Hall for Saturday and they win game one and you guys win game one, I think it can really come down to if Tanner Hall beats you guys, they're winning the regional. I don't know that y'all have the pitch and they'll come back and beat them twice on Sunday. But if they use him Friday or y'all beat him, I don't know that they have the pitching to beat you guys twice. So it's really going to come down to what Southern Miss does with Tanner Hall, which is crazy to think that the 2 seed starting pitching is what's going to determine the whole the regional, in my opinion. But like you said, I think them coming in, Coach being their last season or, retiring at the end of the year, they're pissed off. They thought they should host. So they got several chips on their shoulders. It's a tough draw for Auburn, I honestly think. In my opinion, Southern might be one of the best 2 seeds in the country. But I think with it being at Auburn, I think you guys – the lineup is deep enough. I think you've seen the pitching throughout the year in the SEC that even if you do get Tanner Hall on Saturday, that your lineup's good enough to beat him. I think, like you guys said, your guys have to throw strikes. If you guys throw strikes and don't beat yourselves, I don't see any of these 3 teams competing with you guys. Now, does that mean it won't go to 7 games and somebody has to, win or take off Monday night? You never know. But as of right now, I'm not going to change it again. I'm going to roll and go with you guys to win the region, Auburn.
Huge, man. Auburn, the 13th overall national seed. That keeps getting better, all right, year in and year out for Auburn. What were they last year? The 14 national seed. So it keeps getting better, and Butch Thompson has done an outstanding job on the Plains. But let's move on to our next regional. We'll go down to the number 5 overall seed, the Baton Rouge regional. The number 1 seeded LSU Tigers, 43-15, take on the incredible run of the number 4 seed, the Tulane Green Wave, man, 19-40, the worst record in the tournament. Somehow wins their conference as a 7 seed. They just played – 5 games in 6 days and win the conference. Incredible. That game will be on ESPNU. And then the number 2 seed, Oregon State at 39-18 versus the 3 seed, Sam Houston State at 38-23. That game will be played Friday night on ESPN Plus also. Dustin, we'll start with you, man. Can Paul Skeens and the LSU Tigers get out of this regional?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I like Oregon State, and we saw them last year. We like them in the Super Regional. I say I like them. I'm not picking them. I like them. It's tough. I had to think about this one for a minute. But, yeah, what you're going to notice here a lot is I'm going to pick a lot of SEC teams because, quite frankly, I don't watch too many of these other teams. But, in Baton Rouge, dude, in the box. I think it comes down to those two squads, and I like LSU, man. They just got too much. They got too much.
Oh, we had a connection issue with DG. DG, are you still there, brother? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, DG?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
There you are. There you are. DG is back, ladies and gentlemen. DG, I'll kick it over to you, man, and get your prediction.
Man, I don't think this is even going to be. I think, honestly, man, I think the country or, the committee, whoever, whatever, I think people have been super high on LSU all year. Yes, I think they're a really good team. I think this is a very favorable regional for them. I understand, geographically it makes sense for Tulane to be in their regional, but the fact that the number 5 national seed gets the worst team in the tournament is crazy to me. I mean, like, that's one thing I don't understand about the baseball regional sometimes. Like, they don't really match up. Like, to me, Wake Forest and Florida should have the weakest regional. Like, 1 and 2, you've earned the right to have the worst possible 2, 3, and 4 seeds in the tournament be your place. LSU got a 19 and 40 team. Yeah, they're hot. They won the AAC tournament last week, but, like, no one else in that tournament. They beat East Carolina. East Carolina was going to be in no matter what. Like, I don't know that they even – Tulane was playing for their life. I mean, obviously, it's a crazy story. LSU's not throwing anybody worth of crap to beat Tulane. They're going to throw probably their 3 guy, maybe even 4 guy.
I think they're throwing Hurd.
Yeah. Boom, and he's been lights out the last few times he's thrown, so he's looked really good. I don't know that I haven't kept up with Oregon State as much as I know they're usually really good, or at least towards the top. Don't know a whole lot about Sam Houston, to be honest with you either. I think LSU's deep enough, their lineup's deep enough to get through this regional. I mean, you say it's Skeens for Saturday night. Oregon State or Sam Houston is not beating him, and then I don't know that either one of the other 3 teams have the lineup to score with LSU to beat them 2 more times. So I think LSU honestly sweeps through the weekend, goes 3-0, and they're sitting at home next week in Baton Rouge waiting for whoever to come play them next week.
Yeah, I'm gonna make this quick, and I agree with both of you here. Paul Skeens, this LSU lineup is for real, and I just don't see Oregon State or Sam Houston just having the firepower to produce enough runs in that Saturday night matchup, whoever it could be out of that 2-3, and LSU facing Tulane out the gate. I mean, they're gonna pound them. So yeah, I'm with both of you. I think LSU moves on fairly easy. I don't think there's a whole lot of contests down there in Baton Rouge in the box. I think like DG said, I think that was a super favorable regional for LSU. Let's go to the Conway Regional, hosted by Coastal Carolina. How about Coastal Carolina and the baseball program that they have become? Got a tough 2 seed with Duke at 35-21. They will take on the number 3 seed UNC Wilmington at 34-21. That'll be the first game. You can catch that one on ESPN Plus. And then Coastal Carolina will get the nightcap as the number 1 seed in that regional at 39-19 against the 4 seed Rider at 35-19. And you can also catch that one on ESPN Plus as well. DG, I'll kick it to you, man. The Conway Regional, Coastal Carolina. The little engine that could, brother. We know what they're about. Who do you got winning this regional?
Yeah, man. I'm going Coastal Carolina. I've seen a lot of people kind of taking Duke here lately. But man, like, I think a lot of it's got to do with they were like, Coastal in the Sun Belt, the conference is strong, but man, they have the number 1 non-conference strength of schedule. Like, they played Wake Forest several times. They played North Carolina several times. They played South Carolina. They played Clemson. They've played some really good teams, and they've held their own. Like, they're 5-6 against number 1 through 25 teams in the RPI. So they've beaten some really good teams. UNCW and Rider, I don't know that they have enough to come in and really compete this little weekend. Coastal Carolina's field a launching pad, and they can hit. So I think that's going to come into play. And man, and just being the 1 seed, man, being the 1 seed is such a big deal because most times you don't have to use your ace game 1. And 2 and 3 seeds are throwing their aces on Friday night. You're getting to sit back, save your 1 for them, and then you're throwing a 1 against a 2. Most times on Saturday nights, it gives you the better opportunity, obviously, and that's what you've earned as the 1 seed in the region. So So I'm gonna go with Coastal. What overall seed are they? Are they 8?
The Coastal Carolina is the 10th overall seed.
10th overall seed. Okay.
Yep, they are number 10.
Okay, yes, I got Coastal winning, man. And I think, like I said, I just think they've been a good team all year. I mean, there was talks for them for a long time of being a top 8 national seed.
Yep.
So I got Coastal in that region.
Love that, DG. Dustin, who do you got?
I'm going Blue Devils.
Wow. Okay.
I'm going Blue Devils. Yeah. Just the ACC is a tough league, man, and I actually have to do a little bit of Duke research because I saw a lot of projections right there towards the end of the season to where I thought we were going to be. There was a possibility we were going to be in a regional with them. So they got a strong pitching staff. DG makes a good point about the ballpark and Coastal being able to hit the ball, and the strength of schedule. That's a good point. I didn't know they had played that tough of an out of conference schedule, and the Sun Belt's a good league anyway. But I've already picked 2 1 seeds. Not every host is going to win their regional. I'm rolling with Duke.
Love that gutsy pick. I'm going to go with Coastal Carolina just because, they the program that they have become, they can hit it. They have pretty decent pitching. The strength of schedule raises that for me. I think it matters who you play throughout the year. I think those moments prepare you for this. And look, I don't think they're going to sweep their way through it. I think this is going 3 games with Duke. And so I think this is going to go to a deciding game. But ultimately, I think Coastal squeaks one out against the Blue Devils here and advances to the Super Regionals. And they will be matched up against that 7 seed in Virginia in that regional. But let's move on here to maybe the hottest team in the country. I'm not going to say maybe. They are the hottest team in the country. And that is the Clemson Regional, hosted by the Clemson Tigers, who I believe is the number 4 overall seed. And the number 1 Clemson Tigers, 43-17, will take on the number 4 seed Lipscomb. Dustin, we're familiar with them. They're 36-24. That'll be the first game in that regional. Catch that one on ESPN Plus. And then the number 2 seed Tennessee Volunteers, 38-19. Tony Vitello leading that circus show versus the number 3 seed Charlotte, 34-26. That will be the nightcap on ESPN. You can catch that one there. Dustin, who do you got in the Clemson Regional, man?
This all pertains to Auburn to me. I'm just pulling for Tennessee. I just want them. I want them in Plainsman Park, so I'm going to speak it into existence. I understand Clemson's the hottest team. This is probably a stupid pick, but I just want to play Tennessee, man. I want them in the regional, and I'm just gonna put that out there and hopefully speak it into existence. So come on, Rocky Top, because I want that ass, dude.
It's not really that far-fetched of
it's not crazy. Yeah.
Look, this Tennessee club can still play. Let's don't get it twisted, okay? I don't like how they carry themselves, but they can still play. They've got the staff, they've got the hitting. We've seen what they've done to a team like Vanderbilt. They just absolutely laid it on them. So it's not a far-fetched pick. Me personally, I would like Tennessee to win this regional, like you said. This is who Auburn is matched up with in supers, and I would love to see Tennessee come down to Plainsman, like we said the other night, because we were supposed to have them in our season finale at Plainsman, and it got canceled, and we got Missouri, which in the end of things, it helped Auburn getting to 17 SEC wins. Yeah. I'm not going to sit here and say that I hated it, but DG, man. Well, first, let me go back. I like Clemson to win this regional. They've been the hottest team in the country. They haven't lost since mid-April. They just went on a freaking tear. They're pitching lights out. They're swinging it better than anybody right now. I mean, it's incredible. Mm-hmm. And I think they're just too hot of a club right now. And I know DG really likes them and what they can do deep into this tournament. So I'm going to take Clemson. My heart wants Tennessee, but DG, who do you got?
Yeah, man. Like you said, I'm high on Clemson. I've seen them play the last couple of weeks, and a lot of people get hot in tournament time, like right for the conference tournaments, and a lot of people don't take that stuff serious because it don't necessarily matter. I mean, Clemson could have probably gone 0-2, and they're going to probably be a top 8 seed, but then going in and dominating like they did, beating Miami, beating North Carolina pretty good. Like they're like you said, they're the hottest team in the country. I mean, and they're the hottest team that I feel like non-Clemson fans or non-ACC fans don't know about. They got a guy named Caden Grice. He's kind of like Cags, 2A guy. He's 8-1 on the mound. He's batting 300 with 16 home runs. Like, he's not some slouch. I mean, I don't know if he's their ace, but I know he's obviously one of their better guys on the mound. I saw it the other day, said like since April 7th or some maybe date like that, they've only lost maybe twice. And if based off Grice's stats since then, he would be the runaway national player of the year, just how well he's been playing, hitting and pitching. Tennessee, man, they're such a wild card. I think they could come in and they could absolutely dominate this region. But the same thing has been the problem for them all year. Their pitching has been so inconsistent. Like, you got Chase Dolander, you have Chase Burns, you have Drew Beam. Like, that was supposed to be the best rotation in college baseball. Chase Burns doesn't even start anymore because he struggled so much, but he's coming out of the bullpen throwing 100. Dolander hasn't looked good all season. I mean, like, he's still projected top 5-6 pick, but he hasn't pitched up to his potential. Drew Beam was a freshman, freshman of the year last year in the conference. Hasn't really been great. So their pitching's been hit or miss. Their lineup's nowhere near as deadly as it was last year. I mean, you got Jared Dickey. You have Griffin Merritt. You got some dogs in the lineup, but they're also really bad away from home. They're 4-12 on the road this year. Clemson's going to be a madhouse. Kind of like I've said everywhere else, man. Like, you got to throw. They're not going to be able to throw, a bum against Charlotte. Charlotte can hit too. But it helps that Tennessee has 3 guys that they can roll out there and beat just about anybody. But I think with it being at home, with them being the hottest team in the country, you don't just cool off just because you've had a couple of days off. Clemson's rolling. I know it's probably very unlikely that all 4 number 1 seeds I've picked so far are all going to win their region. But I just don't know that Tennessee's consistent enough this year. I don't know that they're good enough on the road this year to go into Clemson and beat Clemson twice. So I'm rolling with Clemson, man. I'm rolling with the Tigers.
There you have it. Let's move on to the Coral Gables Regional, hosted by the Miami Hurricanes. This is an interesting regional to me. The number 2 seed Texas Longhorns at 38-20 will take on the number 3 seed Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns, at 40-22. That'll be the first game of the day. Obviously, you can always catch it on the Longhorn Network, man. I mean, what a joke. I mean, come on, dude. Just talk about self-centered, right? But the number 1 Miami Hurricanes in that regional at 40-19 will take on the number 4 Maine Black Bears at 32-19 on the year. That'll be the nightcap on ESPN Plus is where you can catch that one. So, Dustin, man, like always, I'm going to kick it over to you. Who do you like in this Coral Gables regional?
To DG's point earlier about LSU's regional, I thought that Louisiana was always going to fall in the Baton Rouge regional. So they got off on that one. This is a tough one, man. Me and you talked before we were recording the other night, and I said this is the toughest one right here. So this is a tough one, but I'm going to go with Miami. It's tough though. This is the hardest one for me to pick, but I'm rolling with the Canes. Just a good baseball program, man. And it was down to them in Texas, and I'm just going with the home team here. That's 50-50 toss-up.
DG, I know that you have a lot of hate in your heart for the Miami Hurricanes, but who do you got, man?
Man, this is another one I've kind of gone back and forth on a couple times, and I actually had Louisiana winning the region up until probably about a couple hours ago. They're really good, man. They came in second in the Sun Belt. They competed with Coastal Carolina all year. They can hit, they can pitch, but they're also just scrappy. They're kind of like they're. It's like almost like their name resonates with their players. Like they're just like baseball players. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't have anybody that's got 40 home runs or 35 home runs. They just 6-7 home runs here, 308 batting averages, they're just ball players. Texas, man, like they're the program, Texas Longhorns, whatever, baseball, like, they're always so overhyped. I don't think they won a national championship since like 05. But they're not as good as I think people think they are. Miami's really good. Miami's kind of gotten hot here lately as well. We played them second or third week of the season and beat them 2 out of 3. But they can hit too, man, and they got some pitchers. Like I said, this one's tough. I hate doing it, man. I hate doing chalk and just picking the one seeds over and over and over again. But I think Louisiana upsets Texas game 1, and I think Louisiana's going to make a run at it. I think this goes 7 games, but I think ultimately Miami's depth carries them to win the region, and Miami will move on to Supers.
Yeah, I'm going to make this one quick. I like Miami. I like them deep into this tournament, and we'll get into that hopefully next week and get to talk about the Miami Hurricanes. But, yeah, like DG said, they're hot right now. They're the number 9 overall seed in the tournament, and I like Miami to, like you said, I'm not a believer in Texas. I think they're overhyped, and I think Louisiana is going to take care of business there, and I think Miami and Louisiana is going to match up to see who goes to the Super Regionals in this one. I definitely agree with that one, man. So let's move on to the Tuscaloosa Regional, fellas. Yeah, Tuscaloosa Regional. What a place. Man, hosted by the Alabama Crimson Tide. Man, what a place, Tuscaloosa. But we'll carry on. The number 2 seed, Boston College, 35-18 on the year. Really impressive ball club, okay? And hey, we're familiar with the 3 seed, the Troy Trojans at 39-20. That'll be the first game down there in Tuscaloosa. Dustin, we know this Troy team can hit, brother. They can absolutely slap it around the yard. Another Sun Belt team that can play really, really damn good baseball. And there was some projections saying that they would get matched up in the Auburn Regional. I didn't want that because we know how good this Troy team is. And then that will be the first game of the day on ESPN Plus. You can catch that one. And then the number 1 seed, Alabama Crimson Tide, in this regional at 40-19. A hell of a year for the Crimson Tide. They will take on the 4-seeded Nicholls State at 34-22. That'll be the nightcap over there on ESPN Plus. Guys, I'll start here. Like I said in our episode the other night, I am proud of the Alabama kids for what they had to go through. I think Brad Bohannon is complete trash. I think he should never be associated with any baseball team ever for his actions and what happened in the middle of the season with this ball team. And I've said that on multiple occasions, that he sat down in front of these kids as parents and told them that he would be basically like another father to them. And here we have it. The Cats betting against them to lose baseball games. And he's sabotaging his pitching rotation and doing whatever else. And we don't know how long it went on, whatever. But the fact that we do know that he was doing something like that is absolutely insane, and I can't rock with that. But I can rock with those kids in Tuscaloosa for them turning their season around after getting swept by LSU and going through that. So I am proud of them for that. But DG, I'll kick it down to you, man. Who do you like winning this Tuscaloosa Regional?
And this is another one I've kind of gone back and forth on. Boston College is pretty good. The ACC and the SEC this year have just been head and shoulders better than everybody else. I think the ACC's got maybe 3 or 4 hosts, and then they have some really tough 2 seeds throughout the tournament. Boston College is pretty good. Troy is pretty good. I mean, they got a guy named Shane Lewis. I think he's got 28 home runs. He can hit. But man, it's so tough. Like you said, Alabama's just, like, all the momentum's with them, man. They're playing for a lot more than just playing baseball. They're kind of out there to prove a point. this is another one I've kind of gone back and forth on. I picked Boston College, and then I've looked at it again, and I even picked Troy. But once I kind of looked at it a little bit more, man, I just think Alabama's lineup. I mean, even last week in Hoover, they looked really good every game they played. They should have beat us game one. They can hit top to bottom. They've gotten better. They've gotten a lot. They're good depth wise. And they got like I said with Louisiana, man, they got some ball players. They got some guys that just don't want to lose. Like they're just guys that are going to come back, have the dirtiest uniform after the game kind of guys. They got that Pickney guy that came out of nowhere the last month and just been on a tear. So as much as I hate to say it, I got Alabama winning the region. I think I don't know if they win it in 3, but I could see them winning 3 games and heading down to the next weekend.
Love that. Dustin, who do you got?
So far, I've picked nothing but SEC and ACC teams. And there's a reason for that, because the SEC had 10 teams make the tournament. The ACC had 8 teams make the tournament. And like DG just pointed out, head and shoulders above everybody. I've picked nobody outside of either the 1 or the 2 seed in their regional. And that's just not how sports work. It's not. It's just not how it works. I think Troy Trojans are a really good ball team, and that's who I'm going with. I'm going with Troy Trojans.
Wow, Dustin letting that Auburn
I'll never
hate
pick Alabama. Get out of here.
Yeah, Dustin letting that Auburn hate shine, brother. That's why
the Sunbelt team's gonna make it, bro. And I've already picked against a couple of good ones.
Hey, that's why it's the greatest rivalry in the country, right? Because look. Here's my thing. Right? Here's my thing. Hear me out. I'm a huge Jim Jarvis fan, and this might not, go well with the Auburn fans who watch this podcast. Okay, look, I'm gonna take my orange and blue goggles off here for a minute, and I'm a huge Jim Jarvis fan. I think he is one of the most electric shortstops in the country. I love watching him play. He's a go-getter. I love watching him hit in the leadoff spot. He is phenomenal. He is one hell of a baseball player. Like DG mentioned with the Pinckney kid out in right field, he has come on and been an absolute stud for the Alabama Crimson Tide. One thing that I have thoroughly enjoyed watching this Alabama team is their starting pitching. All right. And you lose a guy like Grayson Hitt right before the Auburn series, and you just continue to get quality starts. And it's been a fun ride to watch Alabama. I will admit that. I think it's been awesome to watch this club play. Now, it was also awesome to watch Florida break their hearts like that. But they got the best of us 3 out of 4, and I think this is a really talented team. I posted on Facebook last week. I said, hey, I think Alabama legitimately has a shot to make Omaha, Nebraska. Now, I didn't know they were going to end up as the 16th overall seed and get matched up with Wake Forest at the 1. So, unfortunate draw there. But we have seen crazier things happen. But I do like the Alabama Crimson Tide to win this regional. And it might go a full 7 games with Boston College. I think Boston College is going to match up with Alabama in the end. I think BC does beat Troy in that 2-3 matchup. So, yeah.
Look, we're gonna text about a friendly wager on this regional here.
Okay. I like it.
I'm confident in this one.
Okay. The Gainesville regional. Let's move on down there. Hosted by DG's Florida Gators. The number 2 seeded UConn Huskies. What a 2 seed down there, DG. 43-15 on the year. Versus the number 3 seed Texas Tech at 39-21. That'll be the first game of the day. You can catch that one over on ESPNU. And then the number 1 seeded Florida Gators in their regional at 44-14 versus the number 4 seeded Florida A&M Rattlers at 29-28. You can catch that one on ESPN Plus in the nightcap. Dustin, I'll kick it over here to you, man. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I like Florida in this one. I think Florida's going to Omaha, Nebraska. They're just top to bottom lineup is too strong. They're pitching. I think they're going to bring it in this regional. UConn is, they're a great ball club, but just too much firepower in that Florida lineup, man. But Dustin, who do you like?
UConn's in what, the American now?
Yeah.
What are they?
Or Big East, or is it Big East or?
Yeah, how's that work in baseball? Yeah, it's Big East. They're still Big East in baseball. They're American in football. That really gets really confusing. Yeah, because the American had ECU and Tulane. Okay. And then out of the Big East, it was UConn and Xavier. Yeah, this is easy. This is Florida in 3. Who does Florida play if they win? Who's on that bracket?
They're matched up with South Carolina's regional.
Yeah, that's right. You talked about that. So, yeah, Florida's going to Omaha, and this will be no problem. They will. The way we swept through USC and all of them last year, or whoever it was, UCLA and Florida State. I mean, it'll be like that. They're going to smoke this weekend. They'll smoke.
DG?
Yeah, man, I'm fairly confident. I do think UConn and Texas Tech are pretty good baseball teams. UConn was ranked pretty high at one point in the season. Texas Tech can hit. They're always kind of known to be a team that can hit the ball pretty well. They got hot last week in Arlington at the Big 12 tournament. Like I said earlier, I think it's really just going to. I think the pitching. I mean, it's honestly it's crazy that I know. I'm confident in Sproat. I'm confident in Waldrop. Cags is giving us all the reason in the world to be confident in him the last 2 weeks. But you just never know. Really curious to see what we do Friday, who we throw. But like I said earlier, man, like when you look at our lineup, 1 through 4 are all first-team All-SEC guys. Kay Curlin, Wyatt Langford, Jack Caglione, and then Josh Rivera. BT Rypel's first-team All-SEC catcher last year. He's like the dad on the team. I think he's about to be 24 years old. It's just a good veteran presence in the middle of the lineup. And then, like I said earlier, 6 through 8 or 6 through 9's kind of hit or miss every once in a while, but when they're hitting well. It's not being a homer, but y'all kind of said it. Florida's really good, man. They're really good. I don't see this weekend being an issue. I think Florida can almost kick the feet back midday Saturday and win this thing in 3 and just kind of be hanging out, getting ready to see who's going to come play them down in Gainesville for Supers.
Love that. I agree too, DG. I think the Florida Gators are moving on. Let's go to the Charlottesville regional hosted by the Virginia Cavaliers. The number 1 ranked Virginia Cavaliers at 45-12 versus the 4-seeded Army West Point at 38-16. That'll be the first game of the day in that regional. And then you have the 2-seeded East Carolina Pirates at 45-17 taking on the 3-seed Oklahoma Sooners at 31-26. The Sooners have gotten hot, and that will be the nightcap on ESPN2. DG, I'm going to kick it back to you, brother. Who do you like in this Virginia regional?
This is one that's kind of tough. East Carolina's been a host site, I think, the last 2 or 3 years. I know last year they got their hearts ripped out by Texas. They won game 1 of the Super and then collapsed and weren't able to pull it out. Virginia, it's so tough, man. When Florida, like when your team's really good, I feel like it's hard to keep up with the other teams in the country. But Virginia's really good too, man. Like I saw a thing earlier, they lead the country in batting average. They have their team batting average like 334. They got a guy named Kyle Till who's batting 415, stud. But this is my first upset, first non-1 seed to get beat out. I don't foresee Virginia making it through this region. They very well could. They can hit. They're a good team. But I feel like East Carolina's like kind of got that chip on their shoulder. They were another team that thought they should have hosted. I think if they didn't end up winning the AAC championship tournament, they probably would have hosted. But not winning that tournament hurt them. They come in with a little chip on their shoulder, kind of want to avenge what happened last year, show that, hey, we're not just a mid-major that makes runs every year and can't make it all the way. I think they proved that this year. I think they go into Charlottesville. I think they upset Virginia. And I think East Carolina Pirates win this region.
I'm right there with you. I think the same thing. And that is my 2-seed pick. I think East Carolina, like you said, DG, a little chip on the shoulder. I think they're a little pissed off of what happened last year being so close. And this team can hit, man. They can hit. And I'm just not completely sold on Virginia, man. I feel like they let me down in every sport when I'm on that Virginia bandwagon. And you know what? They did double dribble, so I'm not going to take them in baseball either. So, Dustin, who do you like,
Yeah,
brother?
you finished it for me. I'm petty. They double dribbled, and ECU has cool uniforms, and I love their logo. So go Pirates.
That's awesome. Hey, and their student section, bro, at East Carolina
They're a cool
is
little school,
sick.
man. Their athletics program is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a sick place. And how about the Carolinas? Just really dominating with three schools. Well, it might be even more. Let's see, you got South Carolina, you got
Coastal,
Clemson, and then Clemson, and then you got
What North Carolina, dude? They make it?
Yeah, you got North Carolina's in it, Duke's in it, UNCW, East Carolina, like got a NC State, like the whole state made it.
Yeah, like the Carolinas, the South and North Carolina, man, just absolutely dominating the college baseball scene. I was trying to get it out, but I just kept stumbling. Thank y'all for that.
We're hour deep.
Yeah, we're an hour deep, but that's what I love about this right here, man. We got a few more to go. Let's get on down here to the Fayetteville Regional. The Arkansas Razorbacks, the number 1 seeded Arkansas Razorbacks in this regional at 41-16, take on the 4 seed Santa Clara at 35-18. That'll be the first game of the day on ESPN Plus. And then the 2 seeded TCU Horned Frogs, the Big 12 tournament champs at 37-22, absolutely on fire, and TCU can rake the baseball, taking on 3 seeded Arizona. I'm not personally that high on Arizona this year. They come in at 33-24. That'll be the nightcap over there on ESPNU is where you can catch that one. Dustin, who you like in this Fayetteville Regional?
Arkansas is the second best baseball team I've seen all year. I got Arkansas easy.
Look, I'll agree with you there. I don't want to give out too many, too much of my predictions, but I think DVH, Dave Van Horn, which that is short for, I think the Arkansas Razorbacks get the monkey off the back, and I think they win the national championship this year. I'll go ahead. That's a hot take. I think Arkansas from top to bottom, pitching staff, everything. I think this is the year Arkansas gets it done. So I do like Arkansas to advance in this regional. But DG, who do you like, man?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I picked Arkansas to win this region. TCU is pretty good. They've gotten hot. They won like you said, the Big 12 tournament last week. Arizona, I don't know. I feel like Arizona's typically good at baseball. They're not that great this year. Only thing I know about them is they got that kid that is just dropping nukes last week at the Pac-12 tournament, and maybe the cleanest pimp home runs I've seen ever. That's about all I know about them this year, man. Arkansas is good. Their pitching is gotten better. They've gotten people back. I think it's Brady Taggart's his name.
Yep.
He's back. They got a good bullpen. Their lineup, considering how many injuries they've had, is really good top to bottom. I know they lost Peyton Stovall, which is huge for them. But then they had the kid last week step up. I think his name's Connor Holt, maybe. And he played really well last week in Hoover. They can hit, like you said. And so I got Arkansas. I know last week we kind of debated. We saw somebody say that Arkansas was the what'd they say, Blake? You sent it to me. The standard of SEC baseball or something.
That was Kendall Rogers, man, and I, Kendall's better than that because he knows that Arkansas is not the standard of SEC baseball. Look, that is LSU, Florida, and Arkansas.
Vanderbilt.
Yeah, Vanderbilt, right? Those 3 teams right there, in my opinion, are the standard of SEC baseball. Arkansas hasn't gotten the monkey off the back, right? They had their chance a couple years ago. They let the foul ball drop, and the rest is history, right? Maybe if they would have caught that, then we could have put them in there in that upper echelon of the standard in the Southeastern Conference. But yeah, man, I think Arkansas rolls. Let's jump over here to one of the teams that just kind of lost their luster, right? They had so many injuries down the stretch. Auburn just absolutely ruined their dreams. Just went up there and just basically beat the number 2 out of them. And then you got the Columbia Regional hosted by South Carolina, and the number 2 seed, the Campbell. A team that felt disrespected. What are they? The Campbell Camels?
The Fighting Camels, yeah.
Yeah, the fighting Camels. I love it, man. They're 44-13. A team that thought that they should have hosted, right? Some of their fans were kind of coming at Auburn, saying that it was disrespectful that Auburn got to host over Campbell. They'll take on the 3 seed NC State Wolfpack. NC State getting in there after missing the tournament. And we know what they did in 21, having to get sent home from Omaha and all that stuff because of COVID. And then they come back last year, had Tommy Tanks, but missed out on the tournament. That'll be the first game in that regional. And then the number 1 seed, South Carolina, at 39-19. Still a great club. I was just, pulling the chain, but they have ran into some injuries down the stretch. And let's be honest, their pitching just hasn't been what it was at the beginning of the year down this back half of SEC play. But they'll take on Central Connecticut State, who is 36-12. My goodness, who are they playing up there in Connecticut? DG, I'll start with you, man. Who do you like to win this region?
Yeah, man, I'm going to go with kind of what you said about Campbell feeling disrespected. I think Campbell felt like they should have been a host over a number of teams. I mean, I think they could have hosted over, like you said, maybe you guys, maybe even hosted over South Carolina. South Carolina has not looked good for the last 6 weeks. I think after they beat Florida, I think they lost 5 of their last 6 SEC series. Biggest thing with them, like you said, is injuries, man. They've been hurt. Pitching staff hasn't looked great. Ethan Petrie came back to earth. I mean, he still was SEC freshman of the year. Actually, he wasn't. Conjan was. But he came back down to earth, hasn't looked as dominant as he was for the first half of the season. Like we said earlier, this is what matches up. The winner of this is coming to Gainesville. You tell me which team's coming. I don't know if they want the smoke in Gainesville this next week and a half. But I'd love to get South Carolina to beat them and get that revenge. But I mean, revenge is just as sweet when we're sitting in Omaha and they're sitting back at home watching on TV. No matter if it's we beat them or we beat somebody else. So in this regional, this is my next I guess technical upset. I'm taking Campbell. I got Campbell. They lead the country, or they're top 5 in the country at home runs. They're second in the country in runs scored a game. Their ace is 8-0. Got a 2.8 ERA. They can hit. Typically, the last few years, they've been known for defensive pitching, and that's how they've made runs, but now they can score. So I think that makes them a scary team. South Carolina is a launching pad. Like their dudes hit bombs there that look like they never come down. So when you got a team coming in that's top 5 in the country in home runs, I think that plays well for them. So give me Campbell. Give me the fighting Camels to head on down to Gainesville and meet us in Super.
Dustin, who you got, man?
I'm going with the Wolfpack. I think that South Carolina's playing good baseball right now. And, I mean, we talked about that. You just said they're beat up. They're not playing good baseball. And I hear everything DG's saying about Campbell, but I look at a conference that this is like – I'm just skeptical of a team that you're the only team out of that conference in there. It's like there wasn't nobody else that even earned a bid, and you're just getting – and I'm not saying they're not a good team, but I don't know, man. I like NC State.
Wow. Big-time upset pick right there. I'm going to take Campbell. I think their bats are just a little too much this weekend, and the way South Carolina's been struggling. I think Campbell goes up there. I think the fans travel well. I think they pull this thing off, and they are headed down to Gainesville next weekend for that big-time matchup. Let's move on to the Stillwater Regional, hosted by the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Dallas Baptist coming in as the 2 seed in that regional at 45-14. They will play the 3 seed Washington Huskies at 34-18. That'll be the first one over on ESPN Plus. And then the Oklahoma State Cowboys coming in at 41-18 will take on a deadly a deadly 4-seed Oral Roberts at 46-11. We know Coop's brother over there, Dustin. He plays at Oral Roberts, and this is a team that can hit, brother. Jake has had one hell of a season over there for Oral Roberts. So, DG, I'll start with you once again, man. Who do you like in the Stillwater Regional?
Yeah, man, I've been seeing a lot of people talking today on Twitter that there's only been 2 4 seeds that ever make it out of a regional and make it to Omaha. It's like Stony Brook and Fresno State. And a lot of people are taking Oral Roberts, man, to actually win this regional. I'm not doing that. But I'm also not taking Oklahoma State. I'm taking Dallas Baptist. Dallas Baptist is really good, dude. And I don't know if you guys know this, but their catcher who led the country in slugging or led the country for freshmen in slugging. Got 21 home runs, batting .337, played at Mobile Christian the last couple of years. Grant G. Kid's an absolute stud. I watched him play with my cousin last few years at Mobile Christian. The fact that he left the state of Alabama or got out of the Southeast is almost kind of crazy to me. But he committed to Dallas Baptist early and stuck with them. He got to, like I said, he was a freshman of the year in their conference. Dallas Baptist, another team that was on the bubble of hosting for a while. Not winning their conference tournament kind of, I think, ultimately hurt them as far as being a host site. And then the fact that nobody in the Big 12 was going to host if they didn't give it to Oklahoma State, I think the committee had to kind of, right that ship. But I'm not a big believer in Oklahoma State. I'm not a big believer in the Big 12 this year, honestly. But this was another one of my picks, and I was going to stick with it. I'm around with Dallas Baptist, man.
Yeah, I'm going with DBU too, man. I think this is a perfect upset situation for Dallas Baptist, and obviously rooting for a hometown kid. And Dustin, who do you like in this regional?
I'm pulling for Oral Roberts simply because of the McMurray thing. We love the McMurray family, and that's a tough 4 seed, man. That's like how DG just said. Everyone's kind of pointing this out. This is a really tough one. I'm going with the Cowboys. I'm going with Oklahoma State.
Love that. DG, what's the kid from Oklahoma State? The
Rock Riggio.
Yeah. I mean, what a guy, man. Love that. Oklahoma State. Good luck to the Cowboys. And let's move on to the Nashville regional, man. Like we were just saying, one of the standards in the SEC, right? Hosted by the Vanderbilt Commodores. Got a tough 2 seed up there in Nashville. The number 2 seed Oregon Ducks at 37-20 will take on the 3 seed Xavier Musketeers at 37-23. That'll be the early game there over on ESPN Plus, and then Vandy in the nightcap at 41-18 will take on Eastern Illinois at 38-19 over on SEC Network. DG, I'm gonna keep this one short and sweet. I like Vanderbilt by a lot. I think it's gonna be quick work. Who do you like, man?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't know a ton about the other 3 teams, Oregon, Xavier, Eastern Illinois. Like we said, Vanderbilt's kind of the standard, and that's one of the top, better 3 teams in the conference. I'm not as high on Vanderbilt as everybody else is. I know a lot of people have Vanderbilt making a run to possibly win the national championship. We've beaten them 4 out of 5 times. Not that necessarily means a whole lot. But their pitching is not as good as it normally is. They don't have a solidified rotation. They haven't had a solidified rotation all year. They've had their one guy, and he got hurt, and he came back, and he looked okay in Hoover. But, man, their lineup's not as deep as it normally is. EBJ is a dog. If he gets on base, he scores just about every time, it seems like. But if he don't get on base, man, their lineup's not too terribly deep. Parker Nolan, I know you know the family, really good ball player, but he's not having nearly the year he's had in the past. So I agree, Vanderbilt wins this regional, but I'm not as high on Vanderbilt as a lot of people are.
Dustin?
Yeah, Vanderbilt rolls here. They're hot. They just won the SEC tournament. Yeah, they're for them getting out of the regional was just kind of like what they do with it. They just play good baseball, man. So this is I don't think there's anybody in that regional that's going to give them any kind of test, really.
Yeah, I agree with both of you there. Let's move on to the Lexington regional, hosted by the Kentucky Wildcats. Man, how about that? Bounced us in the SEC tournament last year and hosting this year. Crazy how it works, right? They're the number 1 seed in that regional. Kentucky at 36-18 will take on the 4 seed Ball State at 36-21. That'll be the first one there. And, man, let me tell you something. I think this is the deepest regional maybe in the whole tournament, because this 2-seed West Virginia at 39-18, they can play baseball. And we know all about the 3-seed here, Indiana at 41-18. They can hit, Dustin, and their pitching's not half bad either. So, Dustin, I'll ask you, man, who do you like in the Lexington regional?
When everybody was bitching and moaning about us getting the host spot, look at that. Indiana won 41 games. That's what we opened the season with. Like, not only did we play that SEC schedule, but we played tough teams like that too. So that's why. And shout out to Kentucky, because I remember reading an article a couple of years ago about, I think they had got like a new AD or something like that. But whatever it was, they came out as a university and said, we're focusing more on baseball. And they realized how far they were behind in the league, and they were kind of embarrassed by it. They put a lot of money into fixing up that stadium. They put a lot of time and resources into that program. So I'm proud of them. I'm proud to see them. It's hard. It's hard to gain footing in the SEC in baseball. If you're already behind all these other teams, man, to gain traction and get back where you need to be, that's tough. So, and me and you've talked about it a million times about Auburn baseball. It has to start with the fan base. It has to start with the administration. There's a whole buy-in that has to happen. And at a basketball school, now under Stoops, they've upped their football as well. For them to be able to gain that traction in the SEC, just big shout out to Kentucky. It's very impressive what they've done. And I think it's going to be Kentucky and Indiana. I think it's going to go all the way. It's going to be tight. And I'm just going to roll with the SEC team here. But this is a really good regional, like you said. And I would not be surprised if West Virginia won it. And I wouldn't be surprised if Indiana won it.
DG, who do you got?
Yeah, man. This is my first non-SEC team to get beat out. I'm not as high on Kentucky. I know for a while people had them as like I know before we even played them, D1 baseball released their mock projections or whatever, and they had them as a national seed and us not as a national seed, and it was kind of shocking to me. And then we went in there and we beat them 2 out of 3, and even the game they beat us, like we were up for a while and just had one bad inning again, where a couple errors and a couple walks, and they hit a couple home runs. They don't hit the ball. Like, they're not a team that's going to come out and hit around the ballpark, but they also play in a very pitchers-friendly park. They don't play the field that's got giving up a lot of home runs. If you hit a home run there, you got to get a hold of it. I want to say they have more sacrifice bunts on the season than they do home runs as a team. But West Virginia's also got one of the possible national players of the year, and J.J. Weatherholt, batting .445 with 15 bombs, 26 doubles. Like, in the Big 12, they were the best team in the Big 12 all season. They had kind of gagged at the end of the season and ended up not winning the conference, but they're really good. They're another team that was hosting 2 weeks ago until they kind of collapsed for the last 2 weeks. So I'm going with the Mountaineers. I think West Virginia goes in, upsets Kentucky. And again, like you guys said, Indiana could go in and do the same thing. I think Indiana – I think the Big Ten's not known for baseball. So, 41-18, you're a 3 seed. Like, 41-18 hosts a lot of times. Like, so it's just like the conference isn't as strong, so nobody knows a lot about them. So I think this is definitely the hardest region. But I'm rolling West Virginia in this one.
I'm right there with you, DG. Country roads take me home. All right. I think this West Virginia team goes into Lexington and gets it done, man. And I know West Virginia's got a nice little pitching staff up there on them. So I do like the Mountaineers. I do think that they get this one done. But that Indiana-West Virginia game, Dustin, that's going to be a good one, man. I will have to sit down. Yeah, I'll have to sit down and watch me some of that. That'll be a good one. Let's see here. Who do we got next? The number 1 overall seed in Winston-Salem. The regional hosted by Wake Forest with the number 2 seed Maryland at 41-19, playing the 3 seed Northeastern at 44-14. That'll be the first game of the day over there on ESPN Plus. Then the nightcap with number 1 seed Wake Forest at 47-10 versus the 4 seed George Mason at 34-25 over on ESPN Plus. I'll start this one off real quick. Wake Forest, they can pitch, they can hit, actually they can rake. Their pitching staff is hellacious. They're top to bottom, probably the most complete team in the country. I think they absolutely dominate this regional, and I don't think it's particularly close. DG?
Yeah, man, Maryland, I remember them from the beginning of the season. They were ranked pretty high, and I was just looking back at their schedule. very beginning of the season, obviously early, they lost to West Virginia. They lost 3 of 4 to Ole Miss, who we know ended up being the worst team in the SEC. They lost to Vanderbilt. Their schedule's not tough, man. Like they're out of conference. Outside of those games was weak. We know the Big Ten is not good. Besides maybe them, Indiana and Iowa. They won the Big Ten tournament. Give them that. But like you said, dude, I think Wake Forest is maybe the best 1 seed we've had in a long time. I think we've had years where the 1 seed was good and RPI-wise looked great and, this and that. But, man, Wake Forest has 2 finalists for the National Pitcher of the Year. They have a guy hitting – they got 2 dudes, one guy with 23 home runs and one guy with 27, one batting 379, one batting 351. They can hit, dude. And again, their field's a launching pad too. Like they played a ballpark that's very hitter friendly, which is even more impressive when you look at their starting pitcher stats. Like Rhett Lauder, we obviously know because of SEC baseball that everybody's on Paul Skeen's nuts. He's probably not even going to win National Pitcher of the Year. Like Rhett Lauder's got a 1.69 ERA and is 13-0. Like for the number 1 team in the country. Doesn't get enough love, honestly. I saw a funny story a couple weeks ago about him. Apparently he made like a bet with one of his like economics teachers or something that for every inning he went without giving up an earned run, like every student in class would get like 5 bonus points on like a test or something. And the dude's got a 1.69 ERA, so he's just everybody in that class is passing because of this guy. So I think Wake Forest easy worker this weekend. I think Maryland's a good team. I think if you look back at the record and see who they've lost to some good teams in the tournament. They've also lost a team that's not any good, not in the tournament. So even Wake Forest, 3 games, they're riding high. They're waiting for Alabama to come into Winston-Salem and put it on them too. We'll get into that next week
though. Dustin, who you got, man?
I said that Arkansas was the second best team I've seen. Wake Forest as the first, so I'm going with Wake Forest.
Yeah, sure.
Man, top to bottom, just they got everything. Hell of a ball club. And to go 47-10 in this year's ACC speaks for itself.
Love it, brother. Let's move over to the Terre Haute Regional hosted by Indiana State. How about this story, man? The number 1 seed, Indiana State, at 42-15, taking on a tough 4 seed. We know Wright State has given teams problems in the past at 39-21. That'll be the first game ever on the day. And then you got the 2 seed Iowa Hawkeyes, man, at 42-14, taking on the 3 seed North Carolina Tar Heels at 35-22. That will be a good one. DG, who do you like in this regional, man?
This is another regional I've kind of gone back and forth on.
Yep.
Honestly, didn't know crap about Indiana State until all of a sudden they were hosting. I still really don't know a ton about them because I'm not picking them to win this region. I honestly don't even know that they make it. I think they win game 1, maybe. Again, I don't know a ton about Wright State as well. But Iowa, man, I'm rolling with Iowa. I think North Carolina's really good too. North Carolina's they're just one of those teams that's like every year, man, like you just expect them to make the tournament. If they do make the tournament, they're going to just get hot at right time. And I feel like they've kind of done that. They were hot last weekend in Durham for the ACC tournament, and then they ran into Clemson. So they're a good ball club. I just think Iowa's pitching is good. They got that Brody Brett guy who's playing football, but now he's giving up football and say, hey, I'm going to play baseball, and he's throwing 102. They got another guy named Marcus Morgan. So their 1-2 punch on the mound is really solid. I'm rolling with Iowa. I'm gonna roll with the Hawkeyes to win this region and advance on to supers.
Dustin, who do you like, man?
I'm going with the Tar Heels, like DG kind of alluded to, just playing good baseball at the right time. And yeah, this would be my 4th team out of the Carolinas. I've got ECU, Wake, UNC, or NC State, and now the UNC. So yeah, dude, I think they get playing good baseball up there, and we talked about it already. I'm going with the Tar Heels.
Look, I'm split with both of you. I think this thing comes down to Iowa and UNC. I like Iowa's pitching a little bit more. I'm going to go with the Hawkeyes moving on to the Super Regionals. But if it was North Carolina, I wouldn't be shocked. I don't know if I believe Indiana State. I'm not going to look. Yeah. I don't know a whole lot about them. I haven't watched them play this year. So I've read up that they can smash, but like I'll always go back and say, hey, who you play during the season matters. And I'm a big believer in conference play. And, that's that. So my pick is Iowa. I think they're a little deeper in the pitching staff.
And like DG said about North Carolina always just kind of being there, it's kind of like Arkansas in basketball under Musselman, right? Like they just get in the tournament and then you look up and they're in the freaking Elite Eight. Like, are you going to be surprised if North Carolina's in a super regional? You're not. That's what they do.
Absolutely. And let's go to the last regional, the Stanford regional, hosted by the Stanford Cardinal. Game 1 of that regional, is the number 1 seed Stanford at 38-16, taking on the 4 seed San Jose State at 31-25. I'll be honest with you, I think that's quick work for Stanford. In game 2, Texas A&M, the 2 seed. This one could get rowdy, folks. 36-25, has gotten hot, played in the SEC championship tournament game. We'll take on the 3 seed Cal State Fullerton. How about that? Cal State Fullerton. The Titans are back in the field at 31-22. Had some great teams back in the late 90s and early 2000s. A real baseball powerhouse. So it's glad to see them back in the tournament. Dustin, I'll start with you, man. Who do you like winning this regional?
I'm still up in the air, man. I'm still up in the air. The Aggies made it tough. Last week to kind of go with this one. I don't have a single Pac-12 team picks. Do I really want to do that? Man, I don't know.
Because they're garbage.
Yeah, the Aggies are playing good baseball. I'm gonna roll with Texas A&M, man, and they can do all their weird traditions and celebrate in all their weird kind of ways and do what they're gonna do. So I'll go with Texas A&M.
DG, who do you like?
Yeah, man, this is another one, kind of like Dustin said. Like this has been a weird year for Texas A&M. They came into the year preseason number 4. People were picking them to win the national championship. People were picking them to win the SEC. Dude, and it sucks, man, because like the Pac-12, like I said, is not great top to bottom, but like they've been really good in the past, top to bottom. Obviously, us being over here on the East Coast, basically, we don't watch games from Stanford because they play so late. But like they're a good team, dude. They got 2 guys. They're the only team in the country with 2 guys batting over 350 with 10 or more home runs. They got a guy named Tommy Troy and Alberto Rios, I think his name's a catcher. They can smash. They got a kid from I think he's from Mississippi. His name's Braden Montgomery. He can rake too. They're really good. But when we think Stanford in the past, like what's carried them? Their pitching. Their pitching is not as good as it normally is. They got one guy that's pretty good. I'm looking at Texas A&M almost kind of like we looked at Ole Miss last year. I think Ole Miss – think about Ole Miss last year going into the season. Ole Miss was really good. They were number 1 in the country for like a 3 or 4 week span. Then they just collapsed midseason, and then they did just enough at the end to sneak in. Texas A&M 2 weeks ago was not in the tournament. They beat Florida in College Station a couple weeks ago. They won their last weekend series, and they made a good run in Hoover, getting to the championship game, looking good. They played 6 games in Hoover, and they only lost twice. They went 4-2 in Hoover. They look really good doing it. They got one of the better freshmen in the country. This is my second or third or fourth upset. This one I am going to run. I'm going to ride with the SEC. I like Texas A&M, man. I think Texas A&M is good enough to even make it. I don't know that I can't remember who they match up with, but I think they're good enough to go to Omaha when they play right. So I'm taking Texas A&M to win this Stanford regional.
This regional would match up with the Miami Hurricanes. Stanford's the 8 and Miami's at the 9. So Texas A&M is my pick also. I love Coach Slosh over there in College Station. This is his second year there. They're trying to get back to Omaha. They made a nice little run there last year, and so I remember talking last year with one of our guys, Santiago, man, and he was a big part of the stuff last year that we did, and I would like to see Texas A&M sneak past this one. I think they do. I think the bats have come back alive for Texas A&M. I know they swung it really well at Plainsman this year when they took 2 out of 3 against us. Their pitching scares me a little bit. But it looks like it's come back. They're right there at the end of the year in the SEC tournament. So I'm going to take the hot team in Texas A&M to upset Stanford in that regional final to move on to the Supers next weekend. So, guys, we just broke the 16 regionals down, and we've got our picks in, and this thing starts up Friday. So this is, we're here. We've made it. College baseball, one of the most exciting tournaments of the year, is upon us. What do you guys, DG? I'll start with you. What do you have to say about this tournament, man, as we get out of here?
I'm just looking forward to it, man. I think there's some really good teams. I think there's some really deep regionals. Obviously, it's more fun to watch when your team's supposed to be really good. I know last year, obviously, we hosted, but we kind of snuck into the host right at the end of the season. We weren't really confident. Our pitching wasn't great. Whereas, like, this year, man, it's like Florida's a national championship team. They could very well win the national championship. So it makes watching this, a lot more exciting for me. And then, obviously, I mean, I'll have it on. I can't remember what the little channel that ESPN Plus does, where they got like 8 games going at one time, but I'll definitely have that on Friday. I'm pumped, man. I love college baseball. Again, when your team's good, it keeps it interesting, makes it more fun to watch. You know me, Blake, pretty well. Like, I don't keep up with pro sports a lot. I don't have a pro sports team that I really, I'm diehard for. But when it comes to Florida football, basketball, baseball, anything, I mean, I'm literally watching us play golf national championship right now. I live, breathe, and sleep Florida baseball or sports in general. So the fact that we're good, and the fact that we can win national championship and they're that good this year makes this tournament even more exciting for me to watch starting this weekend, man.
Love that, DG. Dustin, you got any final words about this tournament, brother?
Freaking packed Plainsman Park, bro. Packed Plainsman. Get out there if you can. Show these boys a love. Sign up for ESPN Plus. I know it's stupid, but do it. Do what you can do. Retweet, just everything you can do to help this baseball program, man. Do it. We hit 300 subs today. Appreciate it. Like, let's make it a goal to let's get 100 a month up until football season, and then once we get to football, y'all kind of know how it goes. That's the big driver of everything as far as views and just you see what it is. But just help us out, man. Let's gain 100 a month, and we just appreciate it, dude. It's been a lot of fun. And get down in the comments, leave your picks on Twitter. Hit us up, give us your picks, all that kind of stuff, and then let's reconvene next week and see how we did. I got 10 teams I got 8 teams out of the SEC advancing, so definitely homer friendly here. But yeah, man, just appreciate all the love, guys.
It's the best conference in the country for a reason, So it's just I hate it for everybody else, right? The SEC is the cream of the crop, but look, my big thing with this is grow college baseball, watch college baseball, enjoy college baseball. It's one of the most fun sports that there is, that just doesn't flat out simply get the love that it deserves, right? There's so much passion, and like DG was saying with professional sports, that is why I'm so hooked to college baseball, is because I can feel the passion. I can feel when Kaggs turns on a ball and hits it down the right field line, and it's the record setter down there in Gainesville, and that whole dugout's just pumped up, and he's basically a Shohei Ohtani, I mean, in college, and he pitches, he plays the infield, he hits bombs, he hits for average, and then I look at Auburn and like Cole Foster against Missouri, man, and Auburn wasn't playing their best ball in Hoover that night, and it was a game that they needed to win, and dude hits a bomb and he gets excited, and I have moments like I can think back in Auburn's season with Georgia Tech. Will Cannon, it was a game that we lost, but Will Cannon comes in, bases loaded, no outs, and gets out of the jam and comes off the mound and beating his chest and saying, let's fucking go, And so that's what I love about college baseball, because you don't really get to see that in pro baseball until certain moments closer to playoff time and in those playoff games. Look, I watched Aaron Judge hit 2 home runs the other night and rob another one. All right. And all he did was, and it was, round the bases like, hey, I'm the best player in the world and I know it, but, I just broke the game open at 7-2 now, but, hey, like, well, I love watching it. The quality of play is great, but college really gets me to that hyped up level, and the passion in it. And so I wish ESPN would cover college baseball more than what they do. I think there's so much potential in this sport, Yeah, I know, man, but I know there's so much money to be made in this sport. And it's phenomenal and it's really fun to watch. So like always, we appreciate each one of you watching this podcast. If you could go over to Apple Podcasts right here on YouTube, subscribe, comment, click the bell for notifications, whatever you got to do. We greatly appreciate each and every one of you. And like Dustin said, DG, get down in the comments, interact with us. We will comment back. We want to hear your picks and your predictions and who you pull for. We're also doing a D1 baseball bracket. If you are interested, hit me up in the DMs on Twitter. I will respond. Doesn't take me long at all. I always got my phone on me. So we appreciate each and every one of you. And
hey, buy the merch, bro.
Yeah. And I'll even post great stuff. I'll even post the link tree in the comments and everything or in the bio, and we can get that merch pushing and everything. So DG, I know you want to hit your Go Gators, brother.
Yeah, man. Hey, go Gators. We're going to sweep this weekend, be ready for next weekend. Ideally, I'm going down to Gainesville for Supers. So I need them to pull through for me this weekend, man, so I can get down there and watch them play.
Love that, man. And like always, me and Dustin leave you with a War Damn Eagle. Peace. We're out.